my channel, The Fancy Hat Lady Reads. I'm wearing one of my fancy booktube hats, and today I'm doing the final booktube SFF Babbles topic. I have done all of them this year, woohoo! In case you're unaware, the booktube SFF Babbles have been part of the booktube SFF Awards. They're video prompts that anyone can participate in. I will link the Goodreads group for the booktube SFF Awards in case you want to check it out and learn more. And today's topic is PoC SFF, which is intended to cover sci-fi and fantasy that is written by or featuring characters who are people of color. I'm personally choosing to focus on authors who are people of color. Pretty much anyone, I think, in a fictional world can describe a character as looking like just about anything. And as a white person, it's hard for me to judge when I see that in a book, whether or not that's actual good representation. I think for me, as someone looking to broaden my reading horizons, it's more crucial for me to be looking at authors who are people of color and who are speaking and writing stories from that point of view, from that world experience, from that life experience, regardless of what their characters look like. So that's what I'm going to be recommending here. That's what I feel comfortable recommending as a white person. This is an area where I feel like I'm not as good as I should be. I have not read as many authors of color as I feel like I should have read. I think that's gradually changing as I learn more places to get good, diverse recommendations on the internet. So a lot of these are probably going to be books that you've seen before, but what I am pleased with is that I actually do have a good distribution of adult, young adult, and middle grade. So I'm going to start with my adult recommendations, neither of which are going to be at all surprising to anyone, I think. So I'm going to start with the 5th season, which is the most obvious choice. This is a series that has a lot of hype on BookTube. I started reading this book last month and finished it at the beginning of this month so that I could read The Obelisk Gate, the second book in this series, The Broken Earth, for the Booktube SFF Award read-alongs this month. I haven't started it yet, but hopefully I will soon. Jemisin is an African-American author. I've seen her speak at a couple of events. Actually, I'm really excited to read more of her work. I have the 100,000 Kingdoms also to read, which is the first book in her Inheritance trilogy. Gosh, I'm not even sure what to say about this book here because I haven't pulled my thoughts together for a wrap-up yet. It's fantasy that looks at human existence on a global scale, and in so doing, I think it uses a lot of sort of fantasy ideas that I've seen before, but gets at them in a kind of different way and kind of does them better. More thoughts on this later, and also I'll have opinions on the second book when I read it. Next, also no surprise, also very popular in the BookTube SFF community, I have the Binti novellas by Nnedi Okorafor. This is going to be a trilogy. The first two are out. The first is Binti. The second is Binti Home. I have also read Lagoon by Nnedi Okorafor, but I've liked these better. In fact, I actually liked the second one a good deal better than the first. This one I absolutely loved. I will link the video where I reviewed this in case you want to learn more about what some of my thoughts are on these novellas. These are sci-fi novellas that follow a young girl named Binti. She's from a very traditionalist sort of community in Africa. She takes a lot of pride in her identity, but she leaves home to attend an interstellar university, and it follows the consequences of that choice for her. The third book is going to be called The Night Masquerade, and it is coming out, I think, in September. Next, I've got a couple of young adult recommendations, the first of which will be no surprise if you've watched my channel recently. Hello, this book again. I think it's very good. This is When the Moon Was Ours by McLemore, and it is young adult magical realism. The author is Latina, and one of the two main characters is Latina, and her story is loosely inspired by the folk story of La Llorona. In fact, both of the main characters of this book are people of color because the other protagonist, Sam, is comes from a Pakistani-American family, if I'm remembering that correctly. Anyhow, this is just lovely, exquisitely lyrical writing, very atmospheric, very whimsical, but also very, very heartfelt. And I'm definitely looking forward to reading more from this author. The second young adult recommendation I have is slightly lighter fare, and that is going to be Thorn by Intisar Khanani, which I read on ebook. This is a self-published fairy tale retelling. It's a retelling of The Goose Girl. Intisar Khanani is, I believe, a Pakistani-American author. I didn't necessarily perceive the characters in this book as being people of color, but she is a diverse author and she's very vocal online about diversity in young adult fantasy specifically. This is just a very light, easy read for those who like young adult fairy tale retellings, as I do. It's about a princess from a very small kingdom named Alira, who is arranged to go off to this big kingdom for an arranged marriage, but on the way, her attending lady plays a magical trick and takes her place. It's a very predictable sort of journey of self-discovery, and if that's the type of book that makes you happy, this is a good self-published book to read. I don't read a whole ton of self-published books, and I'm hoping to read more of them now that I have a Kindle and can read them on ebook. I know this author also has another series with 2 books out so far that's supposedly very different, and I'm hoping to pick those up sometime in the not too distant future. And then for middle grade, I have 3 books by the same author in a very loose series to recommend. You will have seen me talk about these books on my channel before. They are these books by Grace Lin, Where the Mountain Meets the Moon, Starry River of the Sky, and When the Sea Turned to Silver. So Grace Lin is a Chinese-American author. She grew up in the United States, and she talks in the afterword of this book a bit about not necessarily having had the connection with Chinese folklore as a child that she kind of wishes she had had, and she wanted to research it some and write sort of the books that she wishes she'd had as a kid to get her connected to her heritage. I think she also writes contemporary kids books about the Asian American experience and growing up as a person of Asian heritage in the US, but I haven't read those because they're not fantasy, and fantasy is what I love. These are just super sweet, super touching little stories. They loosely connect to each other. They all have sort of stories within stories, and those stories kind of connect. And I think that if you read them in publication order, you can see that her research gets deeper and deeper, her source material gets more and more extensive. So like in the back of the third one, she's got a very extensive lists of some books of Chinese stories that have inspired her. And I think you can see that growth over the course of the 3 books. So these are some of my recommendations. Let me know if you have any books by authors of color to recommend to me. As I said, I'm looking to improve my reading in this regard. Also, let me know if you've read any of these and what you thought. Anyhow, I hope you're all having a very nice day. That is all, and that is the last of the BooktubeSFF Babbles. Bye for now.